Welcome to Tea with Lilybet. In this video, I'll be exploring the benefits and challenges of my new low-maintenance lifestyle as I get myself organized and my apartment ready for an upcoming trip that I'll be taking. I've been asking myself a question this week, and that is, have I actually achieved a low-maintenance lifestyle? I've been living in this apartment for quite a while now. I moved in last November and it's now September, so it's around 10 months. Why did I choose this place? There is no doubt that if I wanted to buy a place in Melbourne, I had to go with a smaller space. So I moved from a place that was about 1,000 square feet or 100 square meters to about 500 square feet or 50 square meters. And that has been a massive change. But I also chose this type of place because I wanted to live a more low maintenance lifestyle. So how has my life changed since I moved in? Well, living in a smaller space has definitely had its perks. It hasn't taken as much effort to decorate it, and it definitely doesn't take as much effort to clean it. I could do a pretty decent clean in around an hour. It's also a bit cheaper to heat and cool it. I live on a river that's opposite parklands, and the government looks after all that land, so I can just enjoy it and I don't have to do anything with it. I don't have a big garden anymore. There's no grass to mow. There are no trees to trim. I don't have to maintain the exterior of the property, gutters and shingles on my roof. I don't have to worry about putting out the garbage bins. There's recycling on site. There's an on-site building manager here, and if there's an issue with the building or some of the services, I can just give him a call. There's parking underneath, so I don't get any weather on me when I'm going to my car, and I'm definitely a lot closer to things. I live much closer to my sister's house now, and we've been able to do some beautiful nature walks together. I've got shops and restaurants all around me, so it doesn't take as much effort for me to get out and do things. But you know, there are some things that haven't changed at all. I still have to wash my dishes and put them away. I still have to maintain my things. Recently my dryer broke down and I had to find out how to get it repaired and book someone in to come in and have a look at it. And there's a little problem with my new storage cupboard with the door. It's not closing quite properly, so I'm gonna have to follow up on that as well. And yes, there have even been some downsides to living in an apartment that I really think it's important to talk about, because if you're someone who is considering moving from a house to apartment, you might want to think about the things that you might be missing out on by moving into a smaller space and sharing your space with other people. Yes, it's much smaller to maintain and the cleaning does take less time, but mess is also more visible in this space. You know, if I don't tidy up my kitchen while I'm sitting at night relaxing on my sofa, I can see the mess there. So I feel like I need to stay on top of my tidying a lot more than I did in my old place, where I could just close doors to rooms that were messy. And I'm also sharing spaces with people, the hallway and the lifts and the mailroom and the foyer and the car park. People live different lives, they have different standards of behavior, and they might not feel the same way about common areas that I do. Noise can be a bit of an issue as well. I'm really fortunate on this floor that my neighbors are mainly quiet, but you know, I've had that issue with cigarette smoke as well. That has caused a little bit of stress for me. So I've had to do things like put a seal under my door, spend money on an air filter so that I can deal with this smoke that's been coming to the apartment. So that's been a tricky issue to navigate. And with all those amenities that I'm getting, with living in this complex, with the gardens being taken care of and the common areas being cleaned and maintained, You know, that comes at a cost. I have to pay owner's corporation fees every quarter. And then there is the issue of the leak in my bathroom. I was in my bathroom one day and I looked up, and I remember when I first moved in, there was a little spot on the ceiling. I didn't think much of it. I thought it was just a bit of discoloration, but that spot had grown and it became this brown stain. And so I got up on a ladder and I looked at it closely and I just tapped at the spot, and I quickly poked a hole in the ceiling. There's a leak coming from the bathroom above me, and the plumber said, oh, don't worry, it's coming from a little break in one of the seals around the shower for the apartment that's above me. But it turns out that it was actually coming from their toilet pan, so it wasn't clean water that was coming out. It was just a tiny little leak, but still it was just a horrible thing to know that this thing had been dripping out into my bathroom. That's all going to be repaired, and the ceiling cavity is also going to be disinfected. But it's another way that I've been impacted by neighbors. One of the things that I've really learned through this whole process is that a low maintenance lifestyle does not happen automatically. You kind of have to work at it. And through going through this whole process of settling in here, I really learned that there is a solution to every problem. It's essential to be really pragmatic about the things that you keep in your apartment if you want to have a low maintenance lifestyle. I did so many declutters before I moved out of my old place, and I've also had to keep decluttering since I've moved in, and I feel like I'm not finished with that process. I still have too many things. Living in a smaller space does take some adjusting. It's a different way of living. It's a different way of thinking about your space. And you have to make the most of every single nook and cranny in your space and think about how best to use it. Everything has to have a function. Except for a few plants that I need to take care of, I pretty much have a lock-up apartment. I can close the door, go away, and I know that everything will be exactly where I left it when I come back. I've rearranged my balcony since my last video out here. We've had these really strong winds in Melbourne for the last week or so, and I've been bringing my things in. I've been bringing chairs, tables, and my more delicate plants into the apartment. I even dragged this table that was sitting over here. And I was also worried for Ludwig that he was going to get injured, so I dragged him in a little bit. When I went to place them back out onto the balcony, I just started playing with the layout. And I've been really enjoying having the table here next to the chair. I really like the difference in height. I've been putting my tea here, and I've just been sitting and enjoying the sunshine in the morning that comes over from the east. To look through Ludwig's leaves a little bit, but I can see the river as well, which is just lovely. Sadly, I'm going to have to say a temporary goodbye to some of my plants because I'm going on the Sydney trip and I can't leave them, especially my baby's tears and the ferns. So I'm going to take the most delicate plants over to my sister's house now, and she's going to care for them while I'm away. My apartment is so lovely now, and I've been enjoying it so much. I felt a little bit hesitant about going away, but it's something that I need to do for ongoing learning, for my business, and for my clients. and it will be nice to get away, and hopefully it will be a really positive thing for me. Having moved my smaller and more delicate plants to my sister's house, I needed to turn my attention to my grass tree. It has that spike flower growing at the moment, and it seems to need a lot of extra water to keep the flower growing and flourishing. So I bought a couple of watering systems from Bunnings that didn't require a connection to a hose to trial them for a couple of days before I leave. The first thing I had to do was to raise the soil level of the plant so that I could install the watering systems. First system was extremely basic. It's a spike that you attach to the top of a plastic bottle full of water. Once it's attached, you turn it upside down and insert it into the soil. And there was a small hose that allowed water to slowly drip down into the pot. The device had a small plastic arm that was supposed to attach to the side of the pot to provide stability, but it was extremely flimsy and didn't seem to do anything. But I found that the soil was firm enough to hold the plastic bottle and spike in position. And then I just had to use a pin that was provided to create a little air hole at the top of the bottle. The other system was extremely easy to install. It was a self-watering tank that had a spike that went down into the soil and used a wick to transfer the water from the tank into the soil. It had a 7-day supply of water and would deliver 100 mils of water per day. I'll give the soil a chance to settle in overnight, and then I might top it up in the morning and put the rocks back. And by then, hopefully, some of these water levels will have gone down and we'll get an idea of how much water will go in. And if either or both of these systems are successful, that's what I'm going to be using while I'm away. After monitoring both systems overnight, I found that the simple spike with the bottle of water wasn't that effective because it allowed all the water to flow through within a couple of hours, whereas the tank system allowed a slow and steady flow of water into the soil. So the next thing I want to do is to install the other two tanks, fill them with water, and continue to monitor to see if they can keep the flower spike alive while I'm away. Now that I've checked in with the grass tree, I really need to get down to deciding what I'm going to be taking on my trip. I'll be away for 6 days, including the travel days. It is a work conference, but it's music therapy, so there's a little bit more wiggle room for how I dress. I can wear fun clothes that I feel comfortable in. The weather's much warmer in Sydney than it is in Melbourne at the moment. It's been in the high 20s. So I'm really glad that I sorted out my capsule wardrobe and have all of my summer things ready to go. I want to go as low maintenance as possible. I don't want to take too many things. The first thing I'm going to do is go through my wardrobe and put together some outfits that I think will be suitable for attending a conference. I'm probably going to have to try a few things on, but I'm so excited and relieved that I created this year-long capsule because it's going to make it easier for me to put together pieces that will work well and hopefully be really comfortable. If you are interested in seeing my video on how I put this year-long capsule together, I'll leave it on the screen for you. the outfit with sneakers, which I quite like. I think I prefer the sneakers with it. And if it gets warm, I can just tie this around my waist like that. I think this is going to be for one of the casual days. And the long sweater might be good for the plain travel days. I'm really glad I did that try on because I've definitely eliminated a few things that I'm not going to take. And yeah, I've decided not to take this blue dress because, as I said in previous videos, I'm not feeling the above the knee thing. This would actually be quite a cute little jacket, but yeah, I'm not going to take it for this trip. I have made a bit of a mess, so I'm just going to do a tidy up and then I'm going to get the suitcase out and start packing. And my final task was to do a bit of shoe maintenance. I needed to polish my boots, and also I wanted to paint the rubber soles on my sneakers because they had become quite discolored and dirty. I've never painted my sneakers before. I borrowed the paint from my sister, and it took a little bit of experimenting to work out how best to do it. I used a paintbrush because I found that I could get the edges really nice and neat, and I feel like I got some really good results from it, and I'm hoping this will save me having to buy new sneakers in the near future. So I'm just going to leave all the shoes to dry overnight, and once they're dried, I'll be able to pack them in the suitcase. My two goals for packing for this trip were firstly to have as few items as possible while creating a mix and match wardrobe that I'll be able to enjoy wearing without having too much choice while I'm away. And secondly, I wanted to make my trip as comfortable and easy as possible, so I really wanted to get everything into my medium case. I also didn't want to have to take my carry-on luggage and just use a small backpack to take onto the plane. I've managed to get everything in my case. The only things that aren't in here yet are, I've got 2 pairs of shoes that I haven't packed away yet. One of them I'm going to be wearing on the trip, which will probably be my thicker boots. And then my sneakers, which I've painted and are waiting to dry. My toiletries, which will go flat on the top here. And a couple of pieces of clothing that are being washed. And they're pretty lightweight, so I'm sure it's all going to go in. And then in my carry-on, I'm going to take my Kindle, my journal, my laptop and power, earplugs, and the little eye mask. And then this is my handbag. I've decided I'm just going to take the one handbag, stick with the white one. And this is going to be my carry-on luggage, just this blue backpack. I'd love to get a different color, but it's the one that I have at the moment, and I don't really want to spend money on anything new. So yeah, I think everything's going to go into these 2 bags and my handbag. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and seeing how I've turned my life into a low maintenance lifestyle and how I'm even incorporating that into my travel. If you did enjoy this video, you'd be helping me out a lot if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you're new to Tea with Lilybet, I would love to welcome you as a subscriber. So thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.